Good. At 1808 officially. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the third session of the Nascent Students and Young Professionals Mentorship webinar series. This is the third. It is hosted and is an offshoot of CamDocUK. CamDocUK is the Cameroonian Doctors Association UK, which is also a charity. Um, we deal with medical issues, but not just that. And the mentorship program is just part of what we do in working with our community and developing a healthy community, the welfare of the community and of our young stars. As I said, this is the third series. My name is Dr. Kojo Ndenecho. I'm the vice chair of CamDocUK. I am based in Essex in the county of Essex in the United Kingdom. Or if you wish, the smaller part of it is the England, which is still part of the United Kingdom. It's in the east of the country. I am a forensic medical examiner and I'm also a medical examiner. I am based in I work for two NHS trusts currently, the Mid and South Essex National Health Service Trust, and also for the East Kent hospitals in Kent is in the south of England. I am very, very proud to be with you. I'm honored to have you and honored to be given the chance, my second opportunity to host, to moderate this session, which promises, as always, for the to be a very great and stimulating one. It's a session where we speak about Cameroonians, or not only Cameroonians, who are doing great things in different fields. And we want them to come in and share with us, first for us, for our youngsters to see how people who look like them, who are very much of like their parents and who are doing great things in different spheres of life, and therefore they are really insightful they're really inspiring figures in of our community, and we hope that they would talk about themselves, how they got to who they are, how they got there, what were the challenges that they face in getting there, and last, ultimately, what advice they have to for us or for youngsters, and not only youngsters, even for people who would like to join what they're that in the field and work in the field in which they are operating. As we said, we would have three panelists for each session. We generally have three panelists, and that's not different today. Today we are going to have uh, a fantastic person by the name of Flight Squadron um leader Bernice, Lieutenant of the Royal Air Force, Bernice Dzekashu, who would tell us about. I wouldn't just give up the little things, but when the time comes, when she's about to stop, I would introduce her again. But this is just a brief summary of the people who are going you're going to find in the on program today. So Bernice will be starting off. Bernice Dzekashu, Flight Lieutenant of the Royal Air Force in the United Kingdom, and that will be followed by Professor Erique Lukong, who is a professor of biochemistry, microbiology, and immunology in the University of Saskatchewan in Canada. And third, we would have Dr. Louis Nkembi, who is the CEO of ERuDeF, who is a conservationist, um, done fantastic stuff. And I would introduce you more detailedly before that he speaks. Those are going to be the three panelists, and they would tell us, as I said, they would tell us who they are, how they've got to where they are, and the challenges along route, and tell us also on how we can make it for to in the fields in which they're talking. I am aided. This program cannot be successful. It can't go on by just me standing here. Behind the scenes, I am helped very much by Dr. Collins Asongazie, who is Collins. Yeah, yep. Just put your hand
Hello.
up there. Absolutely.
Yeah,
He is a backbone. He is what in the television series or the radios you call the engineer, the sound engineer, the producer of the program. He is going to be monitoring the chat box. He's going to be feeding into my ears technical issues, the sequencing, and everything. We are just fantastic partners. So what I can say, he completes my vision. He's the ears and my ears and my third pair of glasses or eyes in this program. I would also introduce the Chief Dr. Asa'ah Nkohkwo, who is the brainchild of this series. He is the lead, CamDoc's lead of international affairs. He is the one who has worked tirelessly behind and nurtured the idea of this program and has put it on the rails, and now we can ride it very easily. Chief, if you can raise your hand over there, and that so that the people can see you. And we would start when we start. These panelists would talk, and then we would take questions, one or two questions possibly when they finish, but mainly at the end of their talk, when all three have spoken, we would then have a question and answer session. But I would invite you in the meantime to put your questions in the chat box, and we will be looking at those and taking making note of them. Those which are burning and burning questions, we can take them answer them live. Sometimes it will be answered in the chat box, or we keep them towards the end. Collins, I would just call on you just to say if I've left out anything. If not, we would then start our session.
please, let's start. Let's not waste
You're
any
good. You're
time.
good. Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful stuff. Okay. So I would start with Bernice, as I had said. Bernice, are you ready?
Ready to go.
Yes, you're ready to go. Okay. Let me just refresh my. Yeah. So Bernice, as we said, as I intimated, you would hear, she's a flight lieutenant of the United Kingdom's Royal Air Force. She's the acting squadron leader, actually. And if things go well, and which fingers crossed, we expect in for Christmas as a present, she is going to be the squadron leader uh, of the of the Royal Air Force. She was born in Kumba, southwest region of Cameroon, where she completed her primary, secondary, and higher education before traveling to the UK in search of so-called greener pastures. But in her case, it is blue because the sky is blue, and that's where she spends most of her time. And so, blue pastures. Bernice joined the Royal Air Force in February 2016 as an aviator, and after completing phases one and two of the training, and she's going to tell us what those phases are because they carry a lot, was posted to the Royal Air Force Bryce Norton in 2017. For those who are not familiar, the 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 Royal Air Force.
Julius,
Uh, can we mute? Okay, fantastic. The Royal Air Force Bryce Norton is the largest Air Force base of the United Kingdom. It is as big as they come, and from there they operate around the world. and she is based there, so you can see important people in important places. Um, Bernice was commissioned into the People Ops branch in 2018 and has since served 5 tours. 5 tours means five five international missions in military speak. And she's done 5 tours, and including her current role as SO2 plans within workforce requirements and plan section. She's received a number of awards in her career so far, of note being a third star commendation in the King's Birthday Honors list in 2025. We're talking this year, we're talking June, summer this year, and she's still flying. So that is very fresh, that third star. Bernice loves to do going to the gym, singing, dancing, and aspires to become a motivational speaker someday. Well, that someday is today, Bernice. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I do apologize for my voice before I start. Yesterday, we had an event, and being the president of Cambries, I was very much talking all night. So I do apologize if I sound a bit quirky. Do bear with me. I'll try and raise my voice where I can. Um,
It's loud and clear.
Thank you. Okay. All right. That's good. That's reassuring. All right. So my name is Bernice, and I don't want to go into a lot of what the moderator has said in terms of introduction for the purpose of time. I'm going to keep it really short. I was born in Kumba, Cameroon. I hail from the Nsor tribe, proudly so, and did my primary, secondary, and high school education in Cameroon and then traveled to the UK, where I completed at the time the Chartered Accounting program of ACCA, and then follow that up with the an MBA in financial management, and then worked for a little under 4 years as as an accountant. Had my first daughter, and whilst on maternity leave, decided that I needed a change of job, mainly because I was bored, and secondly, because I knew that the work that I was doing at the time wouldn't be able to accommodate childcare, and so I needed something that would be a bit flexible with my daughter that I had at the time. So one afternoon, I went to the shopping mall in Peterborough. I lived in Peterborough at the time, and I saw this group of people in uniform, a military uniform, and I decided to go and talk to them because why not? Um, I went and spoke to them, and I asked, what do you have on offer? And it was the Army, the Navy, and the Royal Air Force. And after speaking to the three services, I very much knew that at that point that it would be the Air Force if I ever had to join the military, because again, the Army are good, but the Army are the Army, and so I needed that force that I would say would work with my way of life and still give me the opportunity to have a fulfilling career, but then be a mom, a wife, as you like, because those are the two most important things to me. So I spoke to them, and within a week, I got an email from them to register my interest. I did register the interest, and in no time, it was almost like, yep. You have to do your fitness test, you have to do your medicals, and then before I knew it, I was off to basic training or phase one training in 2016, February of 2016. So this is Bernice, who has I have never been to the gym prior to speaking to those guys. I didn't even know what they use the gym for. I had to work hard, change my lifestyle, think of what I'm gonna do with my daughter at the time so I can go to basic training. I got all that sorted, and I got here for 10 weeks of basic training at RAF Bryce Norton. So what I mean by basic training is just militarization training. So before you are anything in the military, you are a soldier. They train you to be able to defend yourself and defend someone else if the need be. And so you do your rifle training, you do CPR, you do your chemical and gas respiration training, everything that has to do with the military. There is 10 weeks of that you do here at Area of Halton. So once you complete that, that is the militarization phase done, and then you graduate from that and then move on to phase 2 of your training, which is a specialist training. Now, the specialist training is where you learn to become what you joined up to be. So when I spoke to the guys that I met at the shopping mall, and they told me the jobs that were on offer, there was one thing and one thing only that I had in mind, and that was for me to be a people ops specialist. And what is a people ops specialist? It's basically dealing with everything: accounting, finance, pay, allowances, disciplinary. So basically dealing with people, the people aspect of the real effort. So you have to write an aptitude test, which basically gives them an idea of what you when you write the aptitude test and you get the score, that score determines what you can and cannot do in terms of the job that they can offer you. So when I did that, I had a perfect score, and therefore I could do anything that I wanted if I wanted to in the Royal Air Force. But I chose what I wanted because, again, as much as I wanted a job, I wanted something that I would like and enjoy, and I thought that would be what I would do. So I went on to do my phase 2 training, and when I finished my phase 2 training, I was then posted to Bryce Norton as the in my first tour in 2017 as the PD clerk there. And I was an aviator at the time. For those who are familiar with the rank structure in the military, I was an other rank. So within 2 months of being there and working for people, I knew exactly that that was in my place. I knew that that isn't who I am. That isn't what I want to do. I knew that I could do better. I knew I could give better. And so I started the process of commissioning or becoming an officer in the Royal Air Force. I remember telling the sergeant who was in charge of me at the time that I wanted to commission, and he should have seen, the smile on his face, not a good one, like, like, well, I've tried this 3 times and I haven't done it, so you will not be able to do it. But hey, if anyone knows Bernice, Bernice, I do my own thing. I don't really care about what people think or don't think about me. I know exactly what I bring to the table. And so I started a commissioning process. And within a year of being at Bryce Norton, I was off to Royal Air Force Cranwell, which is where they trained the officer. I went and did my leadership training, my leadership exams. I did my my interview, and for those that I went with to my officer selection process, I was the first person to be called an FRSPH at Cranwell, which is a big deal. When you're called as a first, which means you perform to the standard that was required of yourself. So I then went and did my officer training. I spent a year at Cranwell between 2018 and 2019, and I graduated from Cranwell as a commissioned officer. So for those who do not really understand what I mean by a commissioned officer, the commissioned officer process or a commissioned officer is basically somebody that has been commissioned by the Queen or whoever is in charge of that of the military of a specific country. So with the armed forces being His Majesty's Armed Forces or Her Majesty's Armed Forces, as it was at the time that the Queen was still alive, I commissioned with authority from the Queen. I have a commissioning scroll with a handwritten signature from the Queen, basically giving me the powers to be able to command people, to be able to say, you are to do this, to say, this will happen and this will happen without negotiation. So that is a difference between being a commissioned officer and being a non-commissioned. Is the scroll, the authority that you get from the Queen or the King to be able to carry out that duty on their behalf. So the command that you are given is on behalf of the Queen. So basically speaking for the Queen or the King. So I did my phase 2 training and my phase 1 training as an officer, graduated, and then went and did my phase 2 training again. So all in all, I've done two sets of training as an aviator and as an officer. So finished from there, I was posted to area of Halton to start my first tour, being the station arch. I worked there for 6 months, and there was an issue at the station, and the person that was in charge of the accounts had to move on, and in no notice whatsoever, I was asked to take over the accounts for the station alongside my role as the station arch. I then, COVID happened and I was pregnant for my second child. I had to work from home, being pregnant, isolating, managing 2 very big offices and important ones for that matter. At the end of that tour, I handed over. On the day of my handover, I went into labor because I worked till the last day of my pregnancy. And when I went into labor, obviously I had to be taken to the hospital, but I did manage to do the handover. And I had my daughter. I went on maternity leave. And in December of 2019, end of that tour, I had my first 2-star commendation from the Queen at the time, which was on her birthday, on New Year's honors list of 2019. So that was a good start to my career. I then went on maternity leave. I finished off from maternity leave. I did 2 more tours, and then ended up with commendations again, and then currently working as SO2 workforce requirement and plans, which is a squadron leader job that I'm currently occupying. But because I cannot wear the rank, because again, when you have not been officially released from the board, you cannot wear the rank. But I'm doing the job, and hence why, if you see on official matters, you can official documentation, you would see my rank as acting squadron leader, which is a rank a rank upward from a flight lieutenant. So throughout my career, I would say I have made massive strides, but they have not been easy. I do not take for granted my journey, because I know just how much I have had to fight to get to where I am. And I do fight every single day to keep going. I have my biggest challenge being an officer is the fact that I am a Black woman. Okay, I have 2 things to battle with. I'm a woman. The Air Force is a very elite force. People that are in the Air Force are predominantly white male, and people that are seen within the British community as intelligent people. And so it's most of the time it is not unusual for them to just look at you and just assume that you don't know what you're saying, and you always feel like you have to justify yourself, almost like do double or triple to get to where you are. But I don't let that face me. I go into a job and I make my mark at the beginning. Make no mistake, like I said at the beginning, I know what I bring to the team, and I know my worth, and I do not let anyone tell me otherwise. I set a target for myself. I'm in competition with myself, and I am in competition with the older version of myself. I don't care what everyone else is doing. Bernice is out to make herself better. And I've always asked myself one question every time I go into a new job and I want to take on a new challenge. I ask the question of why not? And if I can't give myself a reason to not do it, I am doing it. He who has never failed is he who has never tried. Okay, I will always try something, because what's the worst that can happen? I will fail, but then I will learn something from that failure. And that is what I'm going to say to any young person who is thinking of taking up a career in the military. It is not an easy task, but it is doable. It is very doable, because I'm sitting here at the top of my game, and I say this and make no apology for it, because again, like I said, it has not been handed to me on a platter of gold. I worked every single penny that I earn. 9 months ago, I was spearheaded. I was basically called to join an operation, which I did for 8 months. It's an army operation, but they had to come to the Air Force to get me to go there and manage the finance for the operation, the whole operation, an operation that spanned 16 sites, including overseas and everything. And I was in charge of thousands and thousands of people, managing a budget of over 300 million pounds. I left that job with a 2-star commendation from an army general. Let me tell you, they don't come easy. Those commendations don't come easy from a 2-star general. But but because of the advice that I gave him and everything, and how much savings himself and the Home Office made from this particular operation, I left there with that. And then to top things up, as it was mentioned at the introduction, I then found out in June that I had been awarded a 3-star commendation by the King on his birthday, honestly. So again, I just want to inspire someone and just tell you that, you can be anything you want to be. You can be. I stand here as proof. I wasn't born in this country. I would say the the most part of my education was not in this country, but that did not faze me. You know, when I moved into this country, I had bigger dreams. You know, I very much knew that I could do a lot, and I did not for once doubted my ability. I know that I will not get it right first time, and I'm not afraid to not get it right first time. But what I am afraid of is not trying. And so please, if you do want to do something, you go out there, you do it, you fail, you pick yourself up. Do not let anybody tell you who you are. You know who you are, you know what you bring to the table, you know your convictions. I do not settle for less. Anyone that works with me, anyone that works for me, most importantly, any arrivals chat that I have with the people that I work with, they know from the beginning where I stand, and I draw the line. When you draw the line, you do not go over the line. You do not let anyone else cross the line, because again, like I said, people will look at you. If you look like me and you are in a job that I am, they will always look at you, and then the first impression is you cannot deliver. I prove them wrong every single time. Every single time I prove them wrong. And I intend to keep doing that. How do I intend to keep doing that? Hard work, hard work, and hard work. I work overtime some days, not because I cannot afford to not do so. It's because I want to stay on top of my game. Luck will take you to where you are going. Hard work will keep you there. And that is exactly what my message to every young person listening. Thank you.
Well, don't tell me I didn't tell you. I told you so. I told you Bernice, acting squadron leader, Lieutenant Commander, the Lieutenant of the Royal Air Force, was a force in herself. And it's a royal force. Excuse the pun there. I think you get it. Um, by the way, you can hear how she speaks, and she speaks with authority. She's told us the main factors we can see: determination, confidence, and can do attitude. She has never, she's never doubted herself. Even when she had the doubts to prove she has never shied away from going to the top. And she's made it, and freshly so. Recommendations started right from the beginning. She got into the Royal Air Force, and within 2 months of it, she was from class 1 to class 3. She had skipped as the same primary school. It's a phenomenon. We are very, very pleased, and thank you so much. We've got questions, and I would ask the audience and to keep all the questions that they do have to fit it in the chat box, and we will proceed. And we will take those questions as at the end. If there are some burning questions, we may take them live, and
Yes, I
others may.
think
Yeah.
yes, there is
Go on, Colin.
just
Yes, yes,
yes,
sure.
there is one burning question, and I think it's fitting for us to address it now. The other
Yes.
one we can take it towards the end. So,
Yeah.
it's from our past panelists, Mr. John Ongum. You know, it's almost the same thing.
That John Ongum is the fastest man on
On
land.
land, yeah.
He was a former panelist in the. He is the we call it the train pilot of Eurostar, and the people who do 300 and 300 plus kilometers an hour are just fast people. So here is a
Yeah.
fitting question from him to a very fast person in the flight, Lieutenant
Okay.
Bernice. Yeah,
Yes.
thank
So,
you. Thanks.
Bernice, this question is, his question is, he says his daughter wants to become a pilot. His daughter is currently 17, and she is a surgeon in the CCF. I don't know what that means.
This
Ammo cadet.
Mhm.
or the air cadet, and so is there like he wants you to, what advice can you give towards her achieving that dream of becoming a pilot? She's 17. Yeah. So that is his question. But before you answer, I just want to also let Dr. Montio that know that we've seen her question and it will be addressed. Yes, Bernice, back to you.
Thank you. So yeah, I don't see why your daughter cannot become a pilot. Like I said, everything is about making that judgment call. And as a parent, we do try to guide our kids. But the first advice I would want to give to her is to start studying for CBAT. CBAT is the exam that you would have to write. Um, it's similar to what I explained in the beginning as an aptitude test, where you do a series of cognitive behavior kind of exams to determine which job can be offered to yourself. So CBAT is what uh, the exam that you would write and pass, and depending on the score, the kind of pilot that you become, whether it's a fast jet pilot, an Airbus pilot, a fighter, or a drone pilot. So she needs to start studying for a CBAT because that is the exam that would determine whether or not she can become a pilot. That being said, she's already in the cadet, so she knows a lot about military, being in the cadet. In one of my secondary duties here at Area of Halton, I was the ACLO, so the Air Cadet Liaison Officer for the station. I organized a lot of trips for cadets to come here, and we take them to militarization. So I'm very much conscious that your daughter knows a lot about militarization, which in itself has prepared her mind for what is to come if she was to become a pilot in the Air Force. So I'm more than happy to talk to you offline or talk to your daughter or assist her through the process. That is the age. If you want to be a pilot, that is the age to start at. Because being a pilot, it's like it's like a footballer. The career ends pretty much quickly because again, there's only so many aircraft that we have. So we can't have everyone being a pilot. And so you realize that most pilots start very young. And I think the oldest you can be and they take you into piloting in the Air Force is 27. Whereas for other trade, you can be 30 and all whatnot, and you still be able to commission. I think pilot is 26 or 27. I can't remember. And when you were going in as a pilot at 27, you're not going to get that full benefit of the career. So she's at the right age where she can look to become a pilot. And I'm happy to talk to her offline about what to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Bernice. I wanted to ask maybe for some resources that could help
Mhm.
us study, but since you've given the option of them connecting with you online, I think that that is what they would do so that, for better mentoring, because yeah, she can have some better resources. Yes, Kojo, I think we can move
Y-
on so that we
Yeah,
catch up with time.
yeah, sure. I would also advise that at the end we would have the contact details of all the panelists, and if there are others who do have questions or they would like to get in touch, they can also get in touch through the CamDoc website, and you go through those and we would put you in touch with the panelists. But at the end of this we would get seek the permission, get for those for contact details, and also about resources. These resources would be made available subsequently in either at the end of the program or by getting in touch with CamDoc, where we will put these resources and it will be on our website. Okay, so
Yes, just
we,
to say, please,
yeah,
there are still some questions. Please, we will take them at the end, especially the
and
question of Muncio. Those are questions that, yes, the panelists will still get to address. We just took just a pressing question now so that the others too can have a chance to talk.
yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Bernice. For the time being, questions you would stay behind, and at the end of the third panelist, then we'll do the panelist question. We'll take questions for all of you. Okay, I will just reiterate. Bernice is also a maid in Kumba, so those surprises there about resilience. Okay, so the second panelist, who is nothing other than Professor Kevin Lukong, um, who is professor of biochemistry, microbiology, and immunology mark you there, three things, of the College of Medicine, University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon in Canada. He comes in with a plethora of qualifications. There's just nothing short of that. He is a very, very down to earth, modest human being. I'm not saying so because I've known him since high school. I'm not saying so because he's a friend. I'm not saying so because he's connected and has been a supporter of CamDoc indirectly and directly. But, from this unbiased view here, I read out. So, Professor Lukong is a full professor in the Department of Biochemistry, Microbiology, Immunology at the University of Saskatchewan in Canada. He's also the program. He's the Assistant Dean of Graduate Studies and Director of the Health Sciences Graduate Program in the College of Medicine. He currently directs the PRISM Center for Proteomics Research in Interactions and Structure of Macromolecules and leads a breast cancer research laboratory within the Cancer Research Cluster at the university itself. He currently he earned his double bachelor's degree, bachelor's in science and bachelor's in arts from the university in biochemistry and French from the University of Kiel here in England. So you can see the connection. He's coming back. He's tracing his way back here, and followed by a Master of Arts and Master of Sciences degrees and PhD degrees from the Université de Montréal. He completed postdoctoral training at Harvard Medical School and at McGill University. His research focuses on elucidating signaling pathways regulated by non-receptor tyrosine kinases, particularly in the BRK family and LMTK family. These are very important markers. Sorry about the jargon for the rest of us. This is specialist research fundamental in when people are diagnosed with breast cancer. You know the type of, it's a specific identification of breast cancer, which then helps to tell you what type of treatment you're going to have. And this is where he is. He is there in that cutting edge in helping and identifying this breakthrough in how breast cancer is being treated today. The great success in treatment of breast cancer is really thanks to the type of work he does. He's got over 50 peer-reviewed publications. He is ranked among the top 2% of most cited scientists worldwide by Stanford University in 2024. Need I go long? Professor Erique Lukong.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Kojo. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. If you guys know about me, I'm so passionate about mentorship, just so much. It's not only as my role as a professor and also running a research lab, which I train students, something that I'm really passionate about. So I have a few slides that I'm going to go through. And also the slides themselves serve as resources that I'm going to share with everybody. So I won't have to go through all the slides. So this is the University of Saskatchewan. It's a place that I love a lot. It's in Canada. Canada, a very, very big country. And this is Saskatchewan province. Saskatchewan is sitting here. So you ask yourself, how did I find myself in Saskatchewan when I was in Montreal for all those years? We're going to learn a little bit more in a minute. I'm in the health sciences building and my office is up there, and this is my lab somewhere tucked in there. That's my lab there. Let's get to the next slide. Just want to move this down a little bit. Yeah, I don't know how to move. Anyway, so my story, this slide is very important. It's a key slide we're talking about. And let me look at my time. So I want to keep it to 15 minutes. The slide is very, very important because it's talking about my education, my training, my friendship, the people that I've met, the dilemmas that I face in my life as a young kid growing up. But I want to start this journey. Well, I was born in Saw, by the way. So just following after Bernice there, I was born in Saw. My dad was a police officer. My mom, this is what she did. She used to sell, had small businesses, but she was named Mommy Lucy for her pop and beans. That's it. So in Buea, we moved to Buea, and I'll keep it very, very brief. We moved to Buea, primary school there. I met two friends, and those two friends are my friends from way back, childhood friends, and they're still friends with me today. And they contributed significantly in my journey, the journey that I'm going to tell. So from primary school, I met two people. Major Clement Fondufe, secondly, Dr. Samangwana. So we're in primary school. In primary school, the Clement left, went to Bamenda. I continued with Hyson, but I admired so much about him. And that's the first thing telling the mentees out there. You look around you, your friends can actually be your mentor. They're just sitting next to you. You just have to go and get it. I admire this guy so much because he was so brilliant all the time. So I made friends with him, and that friendship paid off because when we finished primary school and we're trying to decide where to go for secondary school, I wanted to go to Bishop Rogan. He was going to Sacred Heart. One reason I didn't want to go to Sacred Heart, not that I didn't want to go to Sacred Heart, but we had to go somewhere else in a different city, Tico, for the interview. So Tyson and the father came, picked me up, and then we went to that interview. And that's how I got into.
Please, can we all just mute our mics if we are not talking?
We good?
Yes, Prof, please
We good?
continue.
Okay, thanks. So that's how I got into Sacred Heart. Again, I went to Sacred Heart. This is actually my class, the Sacred Heart. We were there from one. This is Bentako leading the crowd, and somewhere tall back behind us somewhere. So I went to Sacred Heart, and this is me then at 17 or so, Sacred Heart. So that's where in Sacred Heart I did my secondary school and high school, Sacred Heart there. So when I finished from Sacred Heart, I didn't get this direct scholarship to go to the UK like some of my friends did. But there were many opportunities back in the day. So, but we all went to the University of Yaoundé, Nkohkwo. So I went there. Clement Fondufe there was there with me at the university. I got scholarship opportunities, but one came which was coming from the presidency. I got one to go to Morocco to do pharmacy, but one came from the presidency, and this particular scholarship, they're looking for students with a science background to go to the UK and do biochemistry and French, and they were trying to train medical and technical translation. It was an 8-year prestigious scholarship that they gave us. So then I had a hard time deciding because I was trying to say, but as a scientist, I stopped this arts thing a long time ago. I don't want to take this scholarship. I have another opportunity. I can go and do my pharmacy. Came my other friend, who is also a friend and a mentor, who is the one who encouraged me. Just go for it. Apply for the scholarship, have two of them, and then decide after. And I applied, and I got this, and I decided to choose then to go to Kiel. That's where I did then biochemistry and French. So the first challenge that I face is that you're going now to an environment where you are expected to come out with a degree in French and in biochemistry. Biochemistry, there's no problem there, but it's the French part. After leaving secondary school, O levels, I didn't want to do anything with French or languages and all of that. So, but for me to do this double degree, I had to do a catch up with the A-level French. So we had to do a foundation year, bring me up to that A-level before I started my degree. And when I started my degree in French then, I did the French and biochemistry. And Dr. Nkohkwo, who is here, Chief, who is here in the audience, is my good friend. And now the third mentor. And this mentor, again, we're talking again, is just a friend who was a mentor. He was just 1 year ahead of me. He was the one guiding me. So we cruised through biochemistry over there. French was quite challenging for me, but I made it through. True, and the story I can tell it's a long story, but I came out of there with both degrees. This training took us then to University of Montreal, still under that presidential scholarship, and we had to then finish off doing that translation. I was doing medical and technical translation, which I finished. But once I finished from there, I was planning to go back home. Things got bad home, and we decided to stay. And that was also a challenge because we never planned to stay abroad. We wanted to go back. Now we didn't know the process of getting residence permit and all those type of things. So we're only struggling. But I knew that I have to go back to what I really like, which was the biochemistry itself. So I decided then, after obtaining my master's from the University of Montreal, I moved to the biochemistry department and applied there. And they didn't want to admit me because they were telling me that you cannot just switch from a master's to sciences. But I'm struggling to tell them that I actually have a science background. They wouldn't believe me. They said, well, if I did double degree here, what is the course structure? So the first thing, the first major challenge for me then was that I knew I definitely want to do this biochemistry. The problem was that I need to get that course structure. There was no internet. There's nothing that I can just call, kill, and then they send it to you by email or something like that. So I took a flight back to my university, met the head of department, printed the course structure, brought it back to the biochemistry department, and that's how I got my admission. And the admission itself is still conditional. One of the reasons that I accepted to do this mentorship session was also to try and tell students the process of getting into graduate studies. One of the most important aspects of that, especially in biomedical science, is to get a supervisor. So now I have this conditional admission. I need to look for a supervisor, and that was quite challenging looking for one. You're going around, they tell you that they don't have funding. The reason that they don't want to accept you because there's a minimum stipend that they have to guarantee you. So if they don't have that money, if they don't want you, they won't take you. So anyway, I went around, but one person accepted me, and he's called Dr. Michel Poitier. He's actually my second mentor, major mentor, because the first one was in biochemistry. I'll just backtrack a little bit. Biochemistry, my mentor there was a biochemistry professor, and I did a project with him that had to do with lysosomes. And lysosomes is the key word here. I did that project with him on lysosomes. Dr. Kenneth William was my mentor. He wanted me, I wanted to do forensic medicine just like Kojo here, but I had that scholarship that was taking me to Montreal. Anyway, remember lysosomes. I had to do a project on lysosomes. Lysosomes are small organelles within the cell. They act as suicide bags. They chop off other proteins, so macromolecules that get into lysosomes. They have specific enzymes that function in an acidic environment. So enough about that. My project had to do with how bases enter lysosomes. Anyway, but there is a connection. I'm not just telling this for nothing, but it's a connection. When I was looking for somebody, for a supervisor here, I came upon one person who was doing lysosomal storage diseases, a research on lysosomal storage diseases. And he accepted me because I described my project, and he was quite impressed. But he says that he's going to test me for 1 year. If I prove myself, I stay. So I stayed there, did my master's, got my PhD from University of Montreal. Now, moving from University of Montreal, then the next challenge is that where do you go? We don't have mentors like what we're doing here, trying to help everybody. Mentees, they can come up to us and we can guide them. Back in the day, there was nobody to guide me. So I didn't know where to go for a postdoc. So I saw two positions at Harvard University. I just applied to them. One had to do with tumor virology, my first then introduction now into cancer, tumor virology. So Dr. Jung's lab at the Primary Research Center, that's been closed down about 10 years ago. So he accepted me in his lab, and I started my postdoc there. And then I couldn't bring my family because Boston was a very expensive place to live. My daughter was 3 years old. So after 1 year, I decided to go to Montreal, and that is when I went back to McGill with the help of my supervisor, helped me to find this new position, this new postdoctoral position. And that's when I developed my interest in breast cancer. Sorry about the ringing. That's when I discovered my interest in breast cancer, because there was this particular protein that's called breast tumor kinase that is overexpressed in breast cancer, but it's not in the normal mammary epithelium. So it's not there in the mammary gland. But that project was not my main project. It was actually a side project that the supervisor came and said, I have this interesting project. Do you want to take it on? And I said, yes. So if you have that opportunity in front of you, just seize it. Because I didn't realize that will be my future. That side project became my project, my future project. Said next. So then from there, I started looking for positions. I'm sorry, I don't know how to stop the phone ringing. So I started looking now for positions. I applied to University of Montreal, where I was, got a position there. Applied at the University of Saskatchewan, also got a position there. But the University of Saskatchewan actually wanted me. They created an environment where I knew I could grow. So I actually chose Saskatchewan over University of Montreal. If you've been to Montreal, it's a very beautiful city. Saskatchewan is very cold. The temperature can go as low as minus 50 degrees in the winter. And we have to plug our cars in. But I came where the opportunities were better for me. That was University of Montreal. University of Saskatchewan. In the biochemistry department then, which later merged to immunology and microbiology, I became an assistant professor, a full professor in 2020. I also direct that breast cancer research lab, as we said. The breast cancer research lab, I'm working on that protein that's called breast tumor kinase. There's I have many publications out there and many reviews articles, and I'll be ready to discuss that with anybody who is interested. I don't want to go into too much details. I also teach 2 courses that I developed at the University of Saskatchewan, the biochemistry of cancer and the biochemistry of vitamins and diseases. Biochemistry of cancer, we know all about cancer, but what's the biochemistry behind it? What's Warburg effect? How does PET scan, for example, work? What's the role of glucose? How do you do that? So you go to the glycolysis pathway, teach them what the role that glycolysis can play in cancer. Why is cancer, for example, glucose hungry? Those are the type of things that I teach. For biochemistry of vitamins, again, we all know about vitamins, but what's the biochemistry behind it? What's the interaction between vitamin A and vitamin D, vitamin B9 and vitamin B12, for example? So those are the type of things that I teach, but hardcore biochemistry is something that I really like. And so in 2022, I became the Assistant Dean of Graduate Studies. Again, being the Assistant Dean of Graduate Studies also is connected to my passion for mentorship, because at the College of Medicine, we have 4 departments. We have the biochemistry, we have the anatomy, we have community health, and then we have this health sciences graduate program. So as the Assistant Dean of Graduate Studies, you oversee the 250 graduate students in all departments, but you also run 1 program on your own, totally with 55 graduate students. So that's what I did. And I'm also the director of this protein center. I won't go too much into that. So that's basically my journey all the way here. And I can discuss the take-home messages and some of my challenges also later. But I'll just go through 2 other slides. I'm not too sure of time. Remember, I have 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes. Okay. So this is just quickly just to show you that my research focuses on these proteins here, and they play some role in breast cancer. They're either overexpressed or underexpressed in breast cancer. So with that, if you have any protein, and these are all enzymes that are overexpressed or underexpressed, you just want to find out what regulates that expression and what happens to it. Do they play a cellular role in breast cancer and eventually a physiological role? And if they are enzymes need a substrate. So what are the substrate? And also, even if you cannot identify the substrate, you don't know their cellular pathway, you don't know their signaling pathways, or you don't know the cellular processes that they regulate, you can also use their overexpression or underexpressions as markers, either diagnostic or therapeutic or prognostic markers. So that's something that, so my research is centered around this, and there's a lot of work around that. And finally, these are just some of the publications that I'll share these slides to everybody who is interested. So so I've been involved a lot in mentorship. One of the things that I've been involved in here in Canada is that I was the vice president of the Canadian Black Scientists Network. So and when we take mentorship is very, very important within that network. And also I'm the founder of the Black Faculty and Staff Caucus here at the University of Saskatchewan. I was a member of Cameroon Board of Directors, also involved in mentorship over there, and many other mentorship roles. But I'm not going to go to any details here, but just to tell you that the series of slides that are coming are so important for anybody, for students, parents who have kids that are constrained going to biomedical sciences. Taking University of Saskatchewan as an example, taking my role as a director of a department as an example. So within these slides, then there's a lot of information in this slide. You learn about the conditions, the requirements for admission. For example, master's is 70 to 75%, PhD thesis base is 80%. What's the difference between a domestic student and international student in terms of admission, in terms of tuition? For example, for master's students, the tuition is about 6,000 or so per year for master students, domestic. International students is double that amount. But if you are an international student and you get into PhD, the tuition is the same as the domestic student. So most students then would think about trying to go into a doctoral program or try to get a transfer into PhD as soon as possible, not to pay that high tuition. But another thing you have to know is that all students have stipends. There is a guaranteed minimum stipend, and there are many, many scholarship opportunities. So this document like this that I have here that I'm going to share is packed with information on the funding that is available and on the entry, the different intake cycles for grad students, the stipends that are available from the various departments at the University of Saskatchewan, the tuition that you expect to pay. We're talking about 5,000 here and 12,000 for international students, and also the cost of living. Also, this document also has information about the cost of living. If your child wants to come to University of Saskatchewan to study, how much does it cost? How much do you have to how much would it cost you as a parent to sponsor your child here? So you need something. We're talking about something like about 30,000 minimum for that. So we're talking something like maybe 15 million or so to be able to do that. So we have tons of information here, and also all this pathway leads to either academia, entrepreneur, or industry. And yes, and then also have links here for various documents that the mentees might want to use. And finally, this is just my lab and past and present members. So I'll stop here and hand it over to Kojo.
Wow. Thank you so much, Erique. Thanks to Professor Erique Lukong here. I said he is a very modest, very down-to-earth, approachable person. But he's so full of knowledge, and you can see how down to earth he's explained things to us, uh, from humble beginnings to the skies, but also how we can navigate the key things that he said, which I actually can see that one of our Dr. Monty Morgan also had has also put in, and which just matches what I was sort of saying. Uh, Takeaway points. Your mentors can be just around you. They're not always up there. They are, you see them, but always watch out around you and see those who are doing well, or see those who seem to get it. And you can approach them for those tips on how they do. You emulate them. So you look for good examples around you. It is not an
Exactly.
issue of rivalry as negative rivalry. You can use it as a positive impetus in getting yourself up there. Those are one of the main things. Um, the other points, he has already explained to us how the different things, pathways, and how you can join the scheme, how you can get into research, specifically the one of the where he is. However, this can be used for every other place that you are in. The principles remain the same. You've got to have some determination. You have to have an inquisitive mind. You've got to seize opportunities that come your way. Okay. Um, we would, I think, Collins, I don't know
Yes,
whether in the
yes.
meantime
One,
you want to
yes.
take something, one
There
or
is
two,
one pressing
otherwise.
question. Yes, there is
Okay.
one pressing
Yes.
question. We
Yes.
want
Go
to
ahead.
thank Dr. Muntio for being so active, and she popped a very pertinent question. So, Prof,
Yeah.
first, she's acknowledging the fact that you make complex things look very easy and simple. Research, we just know it's complex, but the way you explain it, it's really so, she calls it sexy. So she's asking, how can you encourage young people, to want to get interested in research? Because sometimes we imagine that, we are going to be stuck in labs, it's taking our life. In fact, I have a friend who has abandoned his PhD, and he was telling me upfront that I cannot go to school if they are not paying me. So, and from his experience, it's taking so much part of your life, and sometimes many people don't want to begin this journey. So, how can you do to encourage people maybe to look at it from another perspective?
Well, you cannot look at it really from that financial perspective as if you want to have future as a researcher, because don't forget that as myself as a researcher, at some point I had the opportunity to do other things
Yeah.
that could get me that. But once you have that opportunity to go to a lab, you have the right supervisor and the right mentor, and you are beaten by the buck because you are driven by your curiosity and you're driven by the results that you obtain in the lab. So first of all, for my sake, for example, is when I met my first mentor, Dr. Williams, in the UK, and he told me, explained the objective of the experiment with me, and showed me proof of principle that you can actually take a weak base. You know the principle of a lysosome is acidic. You put a weak base. Once it gets into the lysosome, we test the pH goes up. As easy as that. I did it and I saw it, but that was only proof of principle. So it depends on this the supervisors, because every student that comes to my lab, there is a proof of principle. There's something that I can show them to do just to encourage them, something that I know works, so that they can do. That's the first thing. The second thing is that once you start getting those results, you are motivated to stay. But if you start thinking too far down the road, you might not do the research. It's a lot of work. There's no doubt about it. I did my master's for 2 years, PhD for 4 years, postdoc for 5 years before applying for my position. And there were 60 applications that were the 60 candidates for that position that back in the day. So yes, it can be discouraging, and that is why your friend and all the students or mentees listening, they have to just contact somebody like me. Once you start sending out your CVs to labs, to professors, because that's the first line of entry, you need a supervisor, absolutely. Don't stop. Look at all universities. Don't look at only the top universities, because some researchers that are just entering, like early career researchers, they are so motivated and they are looking for students that are just as motivated as them, that it shouldn't be discouraged. But at the same time, if you have this PhD, you may become a professor, and at some point you might decide also to go into administration. I still love my research. I really love the teaching, and I actually love the admin, so they can contact me.
Yes, thank you, Prof. So in a nutshell, they should passion. Passion is very important and
Passion is
indispensable.
very, very important, and resilience. Passion is very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Kojo, I think we can move on.
Yep.
Other questions will come later.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Erique. Thank you so much for this inspiring words of encouragement, and that's the real proof of a mentor. He brings out the best in his mentees. Okay, so we are going to move on, ladies and gentlemen, to our third panelist. We know this, if you are living on planet Earth, it wouldn't have come past you that climate issues are top of the agenda. We have been, from the theory, we are seeing the very, very, very devastating effects of climate change, how it affects um, not just the temperatures, the seas, the weathers, and you can see in our poor Cameroon and in other urban or suburban areas, you've had uh, the effects on the hydrology, and you can see in towns in Bankomo, for example, where there was we had earth subsidence. It's a big problem. Many cities are building barriers to water, to floods. In the UK, floods have happened in the past years. Some of our members, and if I may not just bring, some of our members' homes have been flooded, and it is a common issue. Yaoundé and Douala, the main cities in Cameroon, are flooded perpetually. The cities of Limbe on the coast, they get flooded ritually. So climate emergency is reality. And CamDoc has somebody today, nobody more qualified than this third panelist coming on to talk to us, who is a passionate conservationist. He is Dr. Louis Nkembi. He is normally based in Cameroon, in Buea, in Cameroon, but as he would tell us, you would find out from his bio, he is now across Africa, and is even moving and is in the States and in Europe. He's got his movement and his activities span that much, and Asia as well. Uh, he's roaming, and we even when we had a test program rundown, he was in Cameroon. That's just on Thursday. Today he speaks to us from Madagascar. Dr. Lewis, you're welcome. I will just read your profile here, your short bio. Well, it's not a short bio. I'm just trying to make it short for the interest of time. This man is full of qualities, and he's done a lot in his past, and still a lot that he tells us even up to the year 2050. I'm not making it up. It is part of the things that his plans are doing. So Dr. Lewis is a chief wildlife scientist, an agroeconomist, an agric engineer. He's formed a group called ERuDeF, transforming to become African Wild Society. So the African Wildlife Society that has now transformed itself and has now become ERuDeF, and he's at the center of this. He has a Bachelor's of Science degree in botany from the University of Yaoundé in Cameroon. He has a Master's of Science degree in agroeconomics, and he is an agricultural engineer. As that is a dual accreditation degree. a master's degree from the University of Chang in Cameroon. He's got a master's degree in wildlife management from the University of Montana in the United States of America. He has got a master's degree in forestry management from the University of Northern Arizona in the United States, and a doctorate degree in biodiversity engineering from the École Supérieure de Robert Sorbonne in France. Dr. Louis is a chief wildlife scientist and founder and CEO of ERuDeF, I mentioned, in Cameroon. He's also the founder and president of the ERuDeF University Institute of Applied Biodiversity Sciences in Buea. That's in Cameroon. He has also delved in, he's a private lead environmental university in Central Africa. This center that he's created and approved to operate by the Minister of Higher Education in Cameroon. ERuDeF is headquartered in Buea and has those global offices, as I said before, in the UK, USA, in Africa, and is registered in Ghana and Rwanda. He is speaking to us from Madagascar. He's not gone on holidays, he's gone there for work. Dr. Louis, I leave the floor to you, and we are very honored to have you.
Thank you so much.
You're going to tell us who you are, how you got there, and the challenges on the way, and how others can, our youngsters and not so youngsters, can join in that endeavor in your special field of conservationism. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kojo, and thank you again to the leadership of this program for inviting me to this program. Louis Nkembi, my name's, and as you said rightly, I'm currently in Madagascar, looking at this conservation of lemurs, one of the well-endangered species of primates located only here in Madagascar. I was born from the little village and tribal area of Bangwalang in the Bilem division, from two illiterate parents. Mother and father never went to school. And I benefited from the fact that our first brother became a grade 1 teacher and had managed to get me to school as a last child of the family. So he was bent to making sure that I do not remain in the village. And that's how I found myself entering into St. Bede's College in Ashing. And whether I got exposed to friends and teachers who talked to me about different careers, and I decided at that time, at that age, to become an engineer. And I kept that vision and steam in me and completed high school. And I didn't have a scholarship to go to UK as usual at the time. And so I had to continue with the University of Yaoundé. And while there, I had this advisory from a family friend who said, hey, look, there's this school in Chang that trains agricultural engineers, and so that could be very good for you. And that's how I went for the entrance and had it. The second cycle of five.
Oh, we seem to be having some technical issues with the with Louis's line.
Okay, are you getting me now?
10/10.
Yeah, I had 5 years. I went to Chang because of advisory from a family friend who informed me about the existence of this university college that was specializing in agriculture. And so I moved on to Chang, and we were 5 Anglophones that joined that program for that year. And we graduated, and I had an additional year where I had to complete my master's. And from there, I joined the government. While I was waiting to get involved with government in Yaoundé to be integrated in the public service, I had these opportunities. So my training could be summarized into 3 categories. One is the general training, where I was University of Yaoundé. The second is the technical specialization, where I went to the University College of Agriculture in Cham, and then I continued to the university in the 2 universities in the USA, Montana and Northern Arizona. And the third training, I call it tertiary training, that ended up being very important in my life. It's training in projects, in fundraising, in scientific writing that I obtained from a number of other locations, including Pan-African Institute in Buea, the Foundation Center in DC, the International Foundation of Science in Sweden, and eventually did project-based training in fundraising, project management with the Wiley Fund for Nature in UK, Wildlife Conservation Society, and the Wildlife Conservation Network in the USA. And these 3 typologies of training help to reinforce whom I am as an individual, what I call a sustainable individual. So when I joined government for 3 years from 94 to 97, I discovered that continuing with government line option was not the best way for me because I had no plan, there was no vision of growth. For me to grow in government, it meant that I have to start doing the things the government people wanted, joining political parties, campaigning for political parties, and becoming a stooge to many of those people who were in Yaoundé. So I decided, one of the things that also caused me to drop out was because I had a postgraduate PhD program to study in UK, and I was blocked from going because the Ministry of Agriculture at the time said they did not know me. And to know me means I did not have money that I brought to offer them. So I decided that it was time for me to give up. And so in 1997, I decided to resign from the Ministry of Agriculture. And then I joined the Wildlife Conservation Society of New York, Cameroon program, where I worked there for close to 10 years. But again, my mission in 2002, I gained another scholarship, PhD scholarship in UK to read conservation science. I was again blocked by the dossiers Cameroon director. That again fueled my desire to leave the OCS. And in 2004, I decided that it was enough to leave the OCS, and I effectively resigned from the OCS in 2005. And prior to when I joined the OCS in 1998, I had in mind I needed to create my own organization that could play the same role as Wildlife Conservation Society. And when I started studying the WCS, I understood that it was possible for me, based in Africa, to develop, put into place a non-profit organization that could eventually become a global conservation outfit. And I gave myself a kind of 25 years timeline, hoping that God would keep me alive. And in 1999, I founded the ERuDeF non-profit organization as a conservation organization based in Cameroon. And my wish was I should build it, construct it, develop it, and make it become a global charity focused on conservation in Africa. That was in 1999. And my close to 10 years I spent with the OCS, I was studying the OCS, understanding how they function, and how I could transform my little charity that was just founded in that same year, in 99, to become what we have today. And that is what took me to start building the ERuDeF. What have I been doing all since then? I worked for the government of Cameroon from 1993 to 97, where I stepped down because of the problems I've just mentioned. I joined WCS in 1998 through to 2005, and while there, it became evident that my growth again was constrained because WCS New York cannot appoint me as a project director, as a country director, because I was Black. And I was also forced to step down in 2005 and focused on my own organization to grow it. In 2007, I had this opportunity to direct the Trees for the Future US program in ecosystem restoration. That also has to do with climate change, global warming, and from 2008 through to 2019, I have put into place supported community programs in Cameroon, planting close to 15 million trees. And a year later, in 2008, because of my engagement at the global level at the time, I had this new opportunity that I had to work with the African Conservation Foundation in UK to develop a Pan-African initiative for them. That bolstered me to start working harder to see how ERuDeF could become what it is. It's important to note in terms of challenges also that in 2008, because I dropped out from those years, and they were not happy that I dropped out and started my own outfit, they decided to come to my organization and hired everybody that was there. The idea was to cripple us, to cripple us, to cripple us. That wasn't a problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's very obvious we are having some technical issues with Dr. Nkembi's line. The is fluctuating and going down. Uh, we would. I'm just wondering whether to pause and. Luis, if you can hear us, we cannot hear you. And we wonder whether re-logging, that is logging out and logging in, may help the situation. In the meantime, I can still summarize some of the things that he did. You can hear from him. He has worked as a conservationist, started off with the Cameroon government. He's already explained to us challenges that he had, challenges with the government itself or government departments themselves, putting obstacles to his work. He was undeterred about this. The common trait with all good leaders, he looked around to find another way of overcoming this. He forged partnerships within the private sector in the international domain and carried out continued working. I would tell you that for things that he has done, he between 2008 and 2019, he carried out a program in which he oversaw the planting of 12 million trees in Cameroon. These are things he has done. And in 2018, he launched a 25 million tree planting initiative for Cameroon for the next 25 years. And as at this time in 2024, 2025, he had expanded, as you can see, from with forging memberships and alliances across conservation groups, and he started a 250 million plan of planting trees across Africa. So this guy is a doer. He is someone who we have to learn from. He has not been shy. He has told us the difficulties, and for us, it's uncomfortable when we hear those challenges arising from our own government departments, from our own attitudes. It is not something we are proud of, but this is the reality, that we face issues and obstacles. We've got a climate crisis, and some people sometimes don't seem to see that things that will benefit the rest of us, but they do put obstacles. But that is the way of life. You heard the same for Bernice, when she got into her, she was getting into the Royal Air Force, at some point, there were things that she was having to break a ceiling because not some, you did not have people who were, you did not have women in a position like that. You did not have black women for that matter. You can see the double scale of difficulties, yet they were undeterred. We heard from Professor Erique Lukong, who, when he was transitioning from the UK into Canada, and from Montreal going to Harvard, there were difficulties along the way. He had to make choices. At some point, he had to think on what to do. He had to take a plane to the United Kingdom to get some. He thought about a solution, made all that sacrifice, came back, got a certificate or a transcript, and went back to try and open doors. All of them keep on telling us mentors are also around us. Mentors are people who are, some are high up, but some are always around, and we shouldn't be tunnel. We shouldn't have a tunnel vision. We should always be sort of have that ability of looking around you. Do not fear to ask. Look out for opportunities. They may not present themselves as the what you really do want, but you can assess, is that something I can do for the time being? And it may lead you to open other doors. If we have not able to get Dr. Louis Nkembi back on the line, would be happy for us to, Collins.
Yeah, we
You
do have some questions. Maybe we cover that so that we
so
save time.
we could not maybe just move into the question and answer general
Yeah,
with both panelists, and
yes, yes, yes.
you can then take the first question
I think, yeah,
and five. Yeah.
maybe Muntio wants to ask it herself. Muntio had a question
Yes.
for Bernice. So Muntio, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I mean, it's been an amazing, I've been gripped to the edge of my seat just listening to all these three speakers. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I mean, it's been really great. The question that I had for Bernice was, how do you actually juggle they call it work-life balance, or I mean, being a Black woman in a mainly white male dominated career. I'm a surgeon, and I am an ENT surgeon and did all my training here in the UK. So I know exactly what you're talking about. You have two protected characteristics that you're carrying about with you, right? So how do you actually, for our young people, how have you managed to balance that as you go higher on the career scale with the fantastic stellar progress that you've been making?
Thank you, Doctor. I make it my utmost priority when I go into any job to know my job in the shortest time possible. And I'll tell you why. Having a family, being a Black woman, being a woman, those are three things that go against anyone in the job that I'm doing, the field of work that I'm currently in. And so I'm aware of that, okay? Being conscious of what the limitations are to yourself is actually one of the greatest things that can happen to you, because then you can use that to your advantage. So when I go into a job, I know my job in no time. I work double to know that job. And the reason I do so is to prove that I can do the job, so that when I move into another job, I can prove to whoever I'm coming to work for that all I need is for you to support my family, and I will support you. If you give me what I need, I will give you what you need. So I always say to my career manager, I'm in a fortunate situation where I can sometimes negotiate the jobs that I go into. And so when I go to negotiate my next door, I always say to my career manager, I have a family. My family is just as important to me as my job. I wanna be able to have both. you can see what I bring to the team. My success precedes me. I go into a job and I deliver to the standard that is required. I deliver more than the standard that is required of me. If you give me a job that works for my family, I will make that job work for you. And that is how I go around with managing to keep my family and doing what I like. So there are challenges, day-to-day challenges, I can manage them. But by and large, what I try to do is get that security for my family not being so nomadic and moving every now and then. I try to go for jobs where I would have day-to-day challenges, which are by and large, I'm able to manage. It's just the bigger challenges that I use my knowledge of my job. I use my past experience, I use my past success as a collateral security to guarantee that if you look after my family, I will look after your job and I will deliver for you.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much. And I think the question that I had for Kiven, he already answered.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dr.
You may want to refresh that.
I may want to refresh the question.
The question. Which was answered.
No. I mean, I've been all through. I've been putting my key takeaways from the 3 talks. I mean, unfortunately, our last one was aborted early. But
yeah,
we'll
see whether we can get him back. But
yeah, the golden thread for me all through, they actually fall within the same topics. You know, mentorship is not necessarily you have a mentor who's a teacher, you have to look up to somebody. Your mentors could be anywhere around. It could be your family, friends, as our third speaker said. It could be somebody who our flight squadron went to a shopping center, and being aware, keeping your eyes open, having awareness of your surroundings and seeing what opportunities there are for you at any particular time is key. Because if you go ahead and say, oh, I only want to do this, and don't open yourself to any opportunities that might be there, then you might be restricting your potential. You definitely might be restricting your potential. All through, our 3 speakers said they came across different things. Professor Lukong started off doing French and biochemistry and stuck with it. And although he was being pushed into the translation and so on, he said, nah, I really want to do this biochemistry thing. I'm going to really push with it, open up my opportunities, see where there is, what there is. Then he wanted to be in Montreal, which, although it's cold, is not as bloody cold as Saskatchewan. It's minus 30 degrees in this place. So he had to actually grab himself, plug in his car so that it keeps warm, and move there because he knew his worth. He knew what he could provide. So knowing your worth, knowing what you can provide and going for it is very, very important. There are going to be down days, but having a picture of yourself saying up on the wall and say, I'm going to be professor in this department one day. That's what it's all about.
Thank you so much.
You said it all. The ambition creates visibility. If you're not ambitious, you don't create that visibility. You have to be ambitious to be able to attract those mentors. So you have to meet somewhere, and you are the one to do that work. You have to do that work to meet your mentor. So, and then that openness also invite guidance. As you open, the guidance will come to you. So again, don't overlook your friends. We all have great friends around us. We don't even realize it. You know, I was with these same friends I was talking about just 2 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Right. Fantastic. We've got Chief on the line, who's got his hand raised. Collins, is it all right if I moved on to
us? Let him go on. Let him go on.
Chief to, yeah. Okay. Okay, Chief, please come on.
Yes, another fantastic session we are having. It's a shame that we didn't, because of the challenges we faced, we've had to lose Dr. Nkembi Lewis. I want to raise a particular angle to the whole concept of this webinar, where we are specifically to do, I think this is more addressed to Bernice. When you look at the U.S. Army, the perception you get from the U.S. Army is that the way the Army operates in the U.S. is also like an opportunity to train people in a whole range of competencies, which they may then go on to their later life to use. Some people go to U.S. Army, spend 5, 10 years, and they move on away from the armed forces, but they've learned a lot of things. So it looks like it's a deliberate policy of the U.S. for people to go in there, the armed forces, and learn so many skills and so many other qualifications. I was just wondering, Bernice, whether is that the perception we have in the US, in the UK system? I know you talk about the Royal Air Force, but I want to look at it a bigger picture of joining the British Army. When you go into the Army, you might find that through this, it's like in a hospital, there's a whole range of specialties within the hospital. Similarly, I would have thought within the Army, where somebody comes like the 17-year-old who's looking at getting into the Army, might then end up within the Army, learn a whole range of marketable skills which they can actually. Is that the perception, or and because we want to make sure people can see that you're not just going there to go and be holding the rifle or whatever. You can go in there, and through that, you then learn so many other things, which you can then, after 5, 10 years, you leave the Army and you want to use that in later life. Is that the perception, or am I just totally wrong?
No, that's very much same for the British Armed Forces. So you are employed within a specific profession, but that does not limit you in any way, shape, or form. I'll give you an example. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I was on a 1-week course that was paid for by the Royal Air Force for risk management. The job that I'm doing has nothing to do with risk management. I just fancy doing the risk management level 7 NVQ, and he was paid for, costing about £10,000 for me to sit on that course. It's examinable. I'm going to be writing the exam sometime next week. And then I've also enrolled myself on a project management course. You can do anything. You can go to any level of education that you want to within the military. And the good thing is they'll pay for you to do that. But again, everyone has the reason why they join a specific job. Some people are just comfortable being in that job, getting paid, and don't want to progress, and that's fine. Everyone has an ambition in life, and people have ceiling. Some people's ceiling are higher than others. It's not a bad thing. But if you are in the military and you are ambitious enough and want to push yourself any further, you can always. There's something we call retrade or remuster. So you can start off being a people ops profession, and then evolve to become something else by way of learning that. And the beauty of being in the military and leaving the military is that they do prepare you for life after the military. So once you are coming to the end of your career in the military, and if you've done so in an orderly manner, I don't just mean you wake up one morning and go, oh, I want to leave the military today, and I want to have that to happen now. That doesn't do anybody any favor. It doesn't do you a favor. It doesn't do the military a favor. And in fact, to an extent, it disadvantages you in so many ways, because you will not be prepared for that. That being said, if you are leaving the military in an orderly manner, you have a period of 5 years to the end of your career that they prepare you for civil street. Within that 5 years, you can go and do any degrees you want to do. You can go and do any trade, not just academic. You can do professional. You can learn to be something. I have a friend who is leaving in the next 2 years. She's currently studying to become an actuary when she leaves. And that's something she's never done. It's being paid for. So they resettle you into civil street in whatever capacity you want to do. You just need to be able to decide what you want. And there is funding out there for you to be able to do so. So yeah, it is very much the same thing. However, a lot of, like I said, and this is just my personal experience, a lot of people from our background join the military, not for really, they don't see it as a career. There's a lot that you can get out of the military. You can make a career out of it. I love the job that I do. I love being part of the military. It's a whole lifestyle. There's a lot of things that you have to do to keep up, competencies that you have to do to be relevant and current, which in and of itself is a lot of work. And then having to manage that with the family can be overwhelming for others. So everyone joined for different reasons. But if you joined and wanted to make that a career, there is a lot of opportunities. In fact, there is unlimited opportunities that you can tap into.
Fantastic. Just one other, Mr. The two moderators, by the way, you both are doing a wonderful job. I just want to ask one final. This is quite consistent as we're running this series. One of the elephant in the room, we must admit, is the role of AI nowadays. How, what is these panelists, how do you see the AI putting you out of your job, out of your career? Because I must ask, because this is what everywhere nowadays people are worried about. Artificial intelligence, what is going to happen tomorrow to job prospects. Because at the end of the day, mentorship is career.
I would add to that. I would add to that, Chief. Or does AI enhance your job? It can be a threat, or does it make it better? So, Erique, you were ready to go.
So, by the way, AI is here to stay. So we have to adapt. AI is going nowhere, it's here to stay. So from my perspective, now I'm teaching on Tuesday, and I've decided to change the assignment format. It used to be a 10 paper, students will write. Last year they had a 10 paper, everybody scored 90% and now everybody almost 100% for that. So we have to change our approach. This also forces professors like myself to be more creative, better ways of teaching your students, maybe more interactive type courses. So the course that I'm introducing now is more like the exam is more like a journal club. You have to come and sit in front of the class and present that work, and your peers will ask questions to you about what you've read or understood. So but anything that you have to take home to write for an assignment, it doesn't work anymore. There are many, many advantages with AI, but when it comes to academics, we really have to adjust. There are advantages, as Kojo was saying, for other fields, but for us, for teaching, for example, we really have to be creative on how we set those exams, because it's not helping the students in any way if they can just fit the material in there and it comes out from the other end as perfect. AI, we're talking about generative AI specifically here, it all depends on the prompt. Yes, depending on how good you are at generating those prompts, the answer comes out on the end. So it's here to stay, and we are forced to adjust. And then for somebody like me who is passionate about graphic design and stuff like that, it's helping me because that's my passion is photography. So I use AI a lot for stuff like that, so it's very, very helpful. But for academics, it's a challenge, really. Yeah.
Thanks, Prof. I hadn't realized that, but luckily when you said your passion for photography, I suddenly thought, is the best part of me facing you? How am I coming across in this?
How are you coming across? Is the blurry that you see your head and you don't see the rest of your body well, because
Anyway, we'll come back to that. We have a few questions that we have.
Yes, go ahead.
But sorry, Bernice might want to say something about AI in the military.
Yes, please, Bernice. Yeah.
Well, similar to anyone that's in any profession at the moment, AI is here to stay. You can either embrace it, incorporate it into way of the ways of doing business within your organization, or you can say no to it. The RF is very technologically heavy. As you know, we're dealing with aircraft. There's a lot, and IT as well is a big part of the RF. So yes, there are aspects of AI that are being introduced within the military. But I certainly, coming from a position of the job that I do, I don't feel threatened by the introduction of AI. But yes, there are some jobs that may be phased out by the use of AI. But the military is very traditional. There are things within the military that the AI would not be able to do. The emotional intelligence to be able to look at somebody that works for you and say, you've had enough, take a day, go home. AI will not be able to do that. And that's that aspect of the military, the aspect of commanding people. AI can do their job, but you have to command AI. You have to set that program for them to be able to do it. You have to give them the intelligence that they think they have. It's actually programmed by a human individual. So as much as they think they're intelligent, that intelligence comes from a human being. And I think that's the aspect of the military that it will not be phased out, because you're dealing with people's life. It's a very delicate job. Every decision that you make, whether you're making that decision sitting at your desk or you are in a front line, it would ultimately lead to somebody being killed or somebody being saved. And that decision, the emotional intelligence that goes into that decision making cannot be underestimated. And that's something that AI or the military recognizes that AI will not be able to provide. Hence, the need for incorporating the aspects of AI that would benefit the military, but then recognizing its limitation and making and ensuring that that is taken care in the people that are employed and keeping them to do that job. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Bernice.
Collins, fire
Yeah,
on, please.
yes,
Have you
because we
seen
have
the
limited
question from
time.
Julien?
Yes, I'm going to get to that, but before
Okay.
that, Prof, Desmond is asking how he can access your publications, maybe specifically on breast cancer. So how can he get that? And sometimes most of these publications sometimes is paid. So what can you
Yeah.
say to him?
So any publication that you want to access and is paid, you can contact me directly, of course. But if you want to know all my publications, just my name straight, right? On Google, everything will come out from there. And if you cannot access any, you can contact me. So at that, yeah, some of them are paid, but most of my recent publications are not. They are free. So we pay about $5,000, by the way, to have them free for each publication.
Wow,
We pay
wow,
them.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So Desmond, you can we'll leave you our email so that you can write us, Desmond, if you want to, if you're having trouble or if you want to get in contact with Prof for his papers and stuff like that. We'll leave the email of the CamDoc for family.
And
I think
I can tell him also of some publications that they might be interesting just to start, depending on you. So one of my most cited publications is the history of breast cancer, the only one out there. That history breast cancer from 2000 BC all the way to 2015, So that's a very, very interesting read. And then for those all of you guys in the medical field, then you can read the recent ones that I published about the mechanism of action of the breast cancer treatment drugs that we have out there. What's the biochemistry behind it? It's the mechanism of action. It's also very good. And the one that we published a few months ago already has 5,000 reads. So
wow.
yeah.
Wow, thank you. I think another tip which we can give to a young one when you're trying to search for articles, research articles, and you have to pay for them, is to try to do so via academic institutions. You try to go even either the hospital library, or if you work in a hospital or where you work, try libraries, even your local library, to see where they can access. Some of them either they have subscriptions that make it possible for you to access those articles or whatever their nature. So your local library or your school library or university library or whatever academic institution, those are also resources. Those are places where you can go via them, and you would then be able to get to subscription articles. Yes,
Yes, so
Colin, over to
we
you.
we are against time. So
Yeah.
I'll give you the opportunity to talk because of your resilience. Julian was with us last month and he's a very young, promising guy. Julian has a question for Luis. Julian, are you with us? Can you just unmute and ask your question directly to Bernice? Sorry, he has a question for Bernice.
Yes. First of all, good evening. Thanks for your presence here, madam, and all uh, uh, to all the other panelists. Excuse me, I'm not so good again in English, but I had one question. Are there IT opportunities for IT engineers in the Royal Air Force or the UK's Army in general? Or opportunities that might begin with like your own, with training, maybe scholarships that may lead to a career or anything else?
Okay,
Hello, Julian.
Julien, just remind us where you're calling from, so that can help to orientate. I'm asking because I know you're not in the UK, but just tell us where you are based.
I am based in Lyon, in France, and I'm
Okay,
presently pursuing my studies in system engineering. I'm doing a master's in system engineering, and in French it is Organisation Protection des Systèmes d'Information en Entreprise. So it is
okay.
organization and protection of I don't know, the system
You call it
d'information in enterprise.
cyber security and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Hi,
Over to
Julian.
you, Bernice. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Julian. Yes, in plain simple English, yes, there are plenty of opportunities um, for you to become an IT specialist within the Royal Air Force. In fact, like I said a while ago, the Royal Air Force is very IT heavy. It's very technologically heavy, and so it would come as no surprise to anyone that we do have IT specialists in all shapes and sizes, if you like. Actually, there are schemes where you can have bonuses that like for cybersecurity, it's very heavy now because again, Space Force is something that the Air Force is it's very much into, and so they are motivating people to go towards that career. That being said, the fact that you're not located in the UK might be a constraint, but it's not a no. Okay, I'm not read in the most recent recruitment criteria in relation to people who live within the EU. Okay, for if you were in Africa, I'd be saying it's a no-no. If you applied from Africa, they would say no. And the reason they say no for the Royal Air Force is because you need 5 years of to have stayed in here enough for them to be able to do a security check on you. That's the only reason. So anybody tells you otherwise, it's not correct. The only thing is for them to be able to do a security background. Being in France, it may be a different case because if you lived in France, the system is similar to the UK, where they may be able to do that in France to get that confirmation that you're not some kind of serial killer coming into the Air Force. So if you want, I can put you in touch with a recruiter who would advise you specifically on EU because I'm not overly read on that, but I can put you in touch with a recruiter. If you drop an email or something, I'll get that and I'll put you in touch and that you can take it off from there. But yes, there are plenty of jobs in the Royal Air Force for IT specialists.
Thanks, madam, for your detailed answer. I'm going to drop my email and also note your information if it is given at the end of the webinar to send you a private message if possible.
Thank you.
Uh, yes, I do have Julian's mail, so I'll share with you, Bernice, or better still, I'll send him your mail. Okay, Kojo, I think we are out of time, except
Yeah.
maybe we just want to, yeah, we are out of time. It's good that we keep it so that
Right.
it's, yeah.
Yes. Thanks for that, Collins. Thanks for the background work as
Mhm.
always. Thank you, all panelists. I'm really sorry. Let's just try once more to see whether Luis is able to talk to us. It's really unfortunate that he wasn't able to. Luis, if you can hear us, you can unmute and give us just say a few words. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that I'm located in one forest area in the Madagascar. So we are using their research station. So I regret that we can't get best out of it. It's inside the forest. Yeah, so I think it's wonderful, and I'll get my presentation ready and sent to you people so that others who may be interested in our work could reach out to me. Yes, we are having a postgraduate research program mentorship that spans 2 years, and we also link people to global scientific groups and institutions. So what I want to say is that you can succeed so well if you are based in any part of the world. So success doesn't all happen when you are based in the Western world. Success also happens when you are based in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, provided you are focused, you are committed, and you have a vision to attain. Like on the case of ERuDeF, we have a vision. Our 2050 vision is pregnant, and we are happy to share and work with people all across the board. It's not just about Cameroonians, Africans. Currently in Madagascar, we are about some 20-something Africans coming together to rethink how conservation should be managed across Africa. So we are happy to bring on board many of those who are still happy young people, especially masters, PhD guys who are interested in joining our group at the top level. But we're also happy to mentor people right from the bottom in undergraduate programs through. One other thing, I also have to say that the panelists also have a wide range of specializations, studies, and so on. So people who want to become successful tomorrow, they must be ready to learn, to be trained, to acquire different skills. Bernice talk of learning project management, learning other forms of IT. Those are key elements which I took up very early in the course of my career because I knew that we need project management skills. I'm a PMP compliant. I'm a certified fundraising person. I am a human resource management certifier. But all of these are just in passing to build yourself for a concrete and a sustainable world that is challenging. Success doesn't come in where everything is just lying there, as we have all agreed. So therefore, those who are willing and are prepared to become successful tomorrow up to the top level need to be prepared to learn a lot from different fields beyond their central focus. We have heard from Prof. Lukong, we have heard and so on. So a lot needs to, it's not just studying chemistry up to PhD and you become successful or whatever, but there are many other courses that needs to be put into place in order to prepare you to attain success in a challenging world. So once more, I want to say thank you. Again, my publications could be found through Google, most of them. Our work could be found in our website. And we are ready to help for those who want to take on the vision and the passion for environment, climate change, climate warming, and we make the right for the next 25 years. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, thank you. I'm so glad we were able to have you here and even make a last some sort of a wrapping up talk of your work, and you've even sort of referenced the other panelists, and this is an example of how we talk about leaders and how you should be looking around yourself and picking up those key points. I hope our younger ones, as well as ourselves, we get very enriched by the tips we have from everybody. You remember the word, the motto that it wasn't the motto, but the observation that mentors are around us. And that is the same reason for which, if I wasn't moderating here today, I would still be on this program because I am learning. We keep learning from each other, but especially the illuminaries, those who have made a success of it, they give us those essential tips on how we get there. It's been a great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very, very happy and proud of the attendance and the engagement with which you have followed this session. And we would be making this in the next few days or within a week. We will have a transcript version of it and we would publish it on our news in our IT or social comms handles. You will find it in YouTube. You will find it in our Facebook and other social handles, with reference as well to the different panelists when they were talking and what minute and stuff like that. So it makes it easy for you guys to navigate the YouTube. It's a session that has gone on for about an hour, for close to 2 hours now, from when we exactly 2 hours from when we started, and so we will try to keep it in little chunks. For which to which you can consult easily. I would thank very much our panelists again, Prof. Erique Lukong from Canada, who's been, as we can see, you've been a passionate mentor, and you love these programs, and we are grateful for what you've shown and shown us today. Bernice, it is an immense privilege. It is nothing less than what I can say, a star rising person, somebody to emulate, a real shining example to many of us. I thank you all. Chief, I thank you for mentoring this program, for fostering this program and putting it on its rails and making it for us as moderators easy to navigate and to bring on panelists. The format is established. We are live. We come up once a month, every Sunday, the last Sunday of the month, meaning the next session is going to be September 27th at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. We would be publishing nearer to the time the list of the panelists, and we would welcome you guys, anyone, to make suggestions to what you would want, who you would, what sort of areas you would want, and we would work on those and we'll be settling in the future. Once more, I thank you. Collins, thank you for the fantastic work that you do and the ones behind the scenes that the others are not seeing. You're talking sometimes into my ears and you are sending private messages. I also thank, I can't help but also thank Dr. Monty Morgan, who is an experienced, seasoned CamDoc webinar organizer and who has also been sending some messages and encouragement. So increasing this latitude of vision. We remember we should not be tunnel vision in what we do. We should be looking left and right to make the best of our senses. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I would invite the panelists to stay behind so that we can do some little appraisal while our guests leave us. We will give them we'll give you about 5 minutes to leave not that we're kicking you out, but we just invite you to leave and leave your comments. Leave the comments for what you would like us to do and appreciations as well. We would then, after in 5 minutes, we would then do a workshop. That is, we will do some sort of feedback reflections on how we have done today, and we would leave this in-house. Thank you all very much, and thanks from me, Kojo Ndenecho, here in the county of Essex in England. Bye.